I lose control. Teddy Swims. It's the 8th of March, but don't let others control your mind.
Okay. Coming in hot.
It's Epictetus. If someone took control of your body and handed it over to a stranger, you'd be outraged. Yet you let anyone who crosses your path take over your mind, leaving it disturbed and troubled. Aren't you embarrassed by that? Wow, this one was really written for you, wasn't it? Aren't you embarrassed by that?
Wow, how dare you?
There's this lovely analogy that we think about time and all this time that we have throughout the day. And if somebody stole £10 of you and you had £84,000 in the bank, you'd probably be like, well, yeah, it's annoying. It's a bit of a frustration, but I'm not going to let it ruin my day. But so many salespeople the alarm won't go off in time, or they'll get stuck in traffic, or they'll spill some milk on their shirt in the morning, and that's it. Day ruined. I'm not going to get into the zone. I'm not going to focus. They let others or outside events control how they respond to things. What's your feeling on that?
There's a little phrase I like from Tony Robbins. He says, losers react, winners anticipate. And I think this is like a big thing for people selling, but sales leaders as well, because what tends to happen is this feeling of, why have we not hit target? Where's the next deal coming from? That's very reactive. But the good leader and the good salesperson would anticipate not quite enough volume here, not enough quotes, not enough X part of the pipeline, whatever it may be. They'd notice and anticipate and then change the flow of what they were doing, rather than letting it muddy the waters and change how they were feeling later on down the line. Like, even on a simple level, think about the amount of times where you've got a sales team, I've got a sales team, one person comes in the morning or a Monday and says, oh, it's going to be tough today, isn't it? And then suddenly the next person who's feeling good, they start thinking it's tough as well, and it just spreads like wildfire all around the office, because we're so open to being pushed and pulled by different things that people are saying and doing.
And our thoughts, we are wired for 60 to 80% of our thoughts are wired for negative information. And I saw something that actually, if you sit next to a low performer in the sales office, your input, your performance will come down by about 15% as well, which is crazy. So when we think about don't let others control your mind, I automatically start thinking of, we've had some of those bosses that you'd put into that box and lock it and throw it in the sea in our past. When you think about control and bosses and time and things like that, are there any stories that spring to mind from your sales career?
One that it's not even like a major one, but one that I think I looked at the boss at the time and thought, you're not very good at this. Coming out of the pandemic, when we were all starting to go back to work again, we were basically getting a few deals in, and then there was a bit of a lull, a bit of a quiet patch, and one day he just slammed his hand on the desk and said, oh, for fuck's sake, where's the next deal coming from? Like that. And it didn't fire everyone up and make everyone think, oh yeah, I really want to get another deal. It made everyone think, you're not good at this, like you've not motivated us at all. And I think I said to him at the end of the day, it really annoyed him. I said, I think you need to remember that you're the chief morale officer as well as the CEO. And he looked at me like he wanted to kill me. But it's important. The person who's leading the way is a real driving force. Like, imagine if you were all soldiers in a trench and the guy who was commanding the soldiers turned around and just went, by the way, we're all going to die. Yeah. You go, what? Like, that wouldn't make you feel better, would it? You need a leader who's going to be able to push you on through that. So anytime I saw that sort of behaviour, I thought that is exactly what I don't want to be. Yeah, exactly. And I think you've got to be so in touch with your mind, your perception, and all those different things, so that when something happens, you ask yourself, is this true? And then all you can rely on is whether it is true or whether it isn't. You can start to be rational, and you can look on your evidence shelf and say, well, I've got enough information here to support it. I always think about this like, I think the Stoics did it, like the zooming out technique of, like, call it a bird's eye view. And then, but what one thing that I used to do, and I think about a lot, is, and it's going to sound very silly, but I also think, like, if I'm having irrational thoughts, I try and put myself in the situation of my mum or dad and think, if my mum or dad knew that I was thinking like this or acting in this way, what advice would they give me? Or what feelings would they have? And they'd probably be like, why are you feeling like that? Like, I've heard people say that you wouldn't speak to your worst enemies in a certain way, but the way that you speak to yourself.
So it's a case of like, how do I bring myself back down to earth? How do I kind of look at myself and kind of be impartial in that moment? It's hard, it's a skill, but it is something that over time you can start to develop that habit.
Nice.
You
Shall
like
we?
that?
Yeah.
I've been Jack Frimston.
I've been Zach Thompson.
Remember, you will die.
Get your coat, Sheila. You're drunk.